Hey, what's up, everybody? It's SpaceMike, and we are here at my studio where it's kind of ghetto and I only have one microphone, so we're going to do things like this. But I have the one and only Athena here. AstroAthens is here at the studio of Epic Future Space, and thank you so much for joining me.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. I had a couple of questions for you.
Yes.
So yesterday, you were asking me a couple of questions about how I got into rocketry and a couple of questions about that. What I want to know is your story. How is it that you went from the modeling world to getting into science and technology and space and everything like that? So how did that passion get started for you?
So I actually got into space before I got into modeling.
Oh.
So yeah, I was 12 years old, and my best friend Anika gave me a book on the cosmos. And at that time, I thought it was a bunch of like paintings. You know, I didn't know that they were galaxies and nebulae millions of light years away until like she told me. We like turned like 30 pages later, and she's like, these are real things in our universe. It's much bigger than we think it is. And these were our real images that were taken by something called the Hubble Space Telescope. And I'm like, wait, this is the ultimate career to have. This is like the knowledge of everything. So at that age, I kind of knew that I wanted to follow a path into astrophysics in some form or another, but I wasn't quite sure then. So that's when I ended up going into more of the research route. So by the time I entered high school, I was still pursuing a career in the arts. So I was still dancing full time. I was still doing music and all this other stuff. And at the same time, my high school had a planetarium. So I started learning things like how to track asteroids or how to give a talk at a planetarium. And then by the time I got to college is when we had an actual observatory. So I was looking at sunspots through an H-alpha filter and also was still pursuing a full career in dance. And while I was pursuing this degree, I wanted to get my PhD in astrophysics, I was doing research for NASA over the summer at the Hayden Planetarium. And at that same time is when I actually got scouted for America's Next Top Model. Oh. And I was like, I was literally at like Aeropostale in Times Square, just like folding clothes. And someone came in and was a scout and was like, hey, blah, 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 you want to do this? And I ended up not doing the show. But it really launched me into the entertainment career. Like, again, when I thought I was going to actually stop all the art stuff, stop all the music, all the dancing, everything I was doing to really pursue more of a career in science and become a researcher. So now I was at this like crossroads of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And so I still pursued both of them in my college studies until my modeling career really took off. And then that's when I found myself overseas. And this is when something really magical happened for me, because every 3 months, I was living in a new country and under a new modeling contract. And although it was a lot of like, you know, industry people, you had makeup artists, designers, we were shooting commercials, whatever, you'd think, you know, that the mind would be a bit more like, you know, focused on like entertainment, right? It'd be focused so much more on fashion and all that stuff. But it surprised me that every single country I was in, there was this umbrella that people were under, which was the umbrella of space. Every single time, whether I was in a makeup chair or I was on set, wherever I was, somehow this conversation about space travel started. And that really is just because of my passion. You know, a lot of times you're sitting there getting to know somebody, they're like, oh, so what's your story? What's your background? What were you doing in college? And you know, the space stuff always came up. And then this like discovery happened where like no matter where I was in the world, every single person was like, I love space. Space fascinates me, but I never thought I was good enough to do it. I never thought I was good at math to, you know, do astrophysics, you know, and right away there's this realization I had where, you know, every single person in all the industries other than science, loves space, but they were turned off by it because of this, you know, for some reason, this reason thinking that they weren't smart enough for it, or this reason thinking that they couldn't pursue it as a career, but also maybe because they were more creative and they wanted to go in that route. So, yeah, long story short, I ended up doing that and then decided to launch into doing online stuff and sharing my passion of space, and started on Instagram, moved into YouTube, and expanded into what it is today.
Wow. Wow.
That's kind of long.
No. That's exactly what I wanted to know, though. That's exactly what I wanted to know. And kind of a follow-up to all of that is that with all those different things that you've done in the past, I know that you still have your foot in the modeling door and you're still doing all sorts of really interesting exciting and amazing things. How do you, have you thought about, and is there ways that you want to combine all of these different things together into one full-blown like message or movement or project?
I think it's going to end up happening through multiple projects, multiple messages, because I think that when word starts, it gets spread really quickly like wildfire, or it could never get spread at all. So I think taking as many passages as possible is kind of like a surefire method to really get out whatever you want to try and convey. So with science, and specifically in space, I think that as many opportunities that come to you where you can really share the like extraordinary path that science is taking you on, just grab it. So for me, like whatever it is, if it's something like a competition for, I don't know, a show or it's whatever it is, really, I think that every single one of them is very important to try and take it. So whether it's giving a talk at a university, or it's starting a YouTube channel, or it's like being at a bar and getting in a conversation with a random stranger about like, hey, did you see that rocket launch the other day? They're like, there was a rocket launch. And then you're like, actually, they happen a lot. And did you know how much science goes into it for these things to happen? And the thing is, it's an everyday conversation. It really is. And it's just that, you know, a lot of times, I think that unless, you know, you're in the science community like you and I are, people don't think of it as until it happens. And then people are like, oh, wait, this could be an everyday conversation, but it's not typically what you think about. You know, being in LA, something I get a lot is like, oh, like, when's your birthday? What's your sign? Or what, like, your favorite color? Like, which is awesome. And I think it's great. It's about opinions. But I think somehow that can merge quickly into, like, science, because regardless, like, it's what makes up all of us, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, to answer your question, every single path possible to try and bring, like, more of a voice to science is 100%, you know, should be taken 100%.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, something that we've talked about quite a bit recently is this whole lunar BFR announcement and the whole Dear Moon project to send artists along. Would you want to go on that mission?
100%.
What would you do? Why should you be taken?
The reason I would want to go is not necessarily for myself, but for whatever impact I can make on society through going. So if I will go, the whole journey of getting there would not only be closely shared with anyone that's willing to listen, but afterwards, when I get back, every single experience that moved me while I was there, while I was like traveling, while I got there, while I traveled back, like the entire mission itself, I would want to be extremely emotionally conveyed to people. Because at the end of the day, like being a human, we're emotional beings. And I think that when it comes to something like space travel, especially when you have artists involved, they're able to take something like science, which is usually considered more of like your left brain, more of your logic, and they're able to translate that into a language that reaches out to a lot of people, where that can like get it, you know, that can understand it in like a creative, which is like the right brain, which is the creative side. And the thing is people aren't one or the other, we're both. But I think that we're more in tune with one side or the other. So having artists do such a scientifically driven mission is the perfect answer to try and unite like the human culture. Because that's the thing, we have lots of cultures as humanity, but there's this one actual human culture, which is like our anatomy, what drives us, our fuel, our passions, like, and yeah. So I think that having artists is brilliant. Honestly, it's such a brilliant move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something I hadn't thought about, you know, I was really hoping that, or well, I'm still hoping. I mean, people haven't been chosen yet. My biggest hope is that the people that are chosen to go on this mission will be able to do exactly that, to be able to share the experience and light that passion in everyone's minds that not only is spaceflight cool, but science is cool, and this is the world around us. This is the universe around us, and here's our way of understanding it and expressing ourselves within it as a part of the universe. And so I'm really hoping that the people that are selected, you know, are able to make masterpiece levels of art, whatever it is they do, whether they be a dancer or a sculptor or whatever. But something else that I hadn't considered that still could be a good thing. I don't want celebrities to go. I don't want celebrities to be chosen for it, but that might not necessarily be bad. On our show, on the TMRO show that we're both on, just this last week, we were talking about the BFR, and Neve Shaw, one of the guests who was on our panel, brought up a really great point. She said that, what if Taylor Swift were to go on this mission? And we all kind of recoiled a little bit, and she's like, no, think about it. She has a huge fan base and a bunch of people that otherwise normally wouldn't necessarily care about science or space flight, but if she were on that mission, they all suddenly would at least look into it a little bit.
Yep.
and be inspired by that mission. So honestly, even if it is celebrity artists that get to go, they still might be able to have that impact. And as long as we are able to get that impact, communicating that experience and just how amazing science and spaceflight is, then mission accomplished.
Yeah, I think something like having a celebrity go, and I understand why a lot of people will say, we shouldn't do a celebrity, we should do everyday people, because the reason they say that is because a celebrity is already up on like a very high podium, and you have a lot of the rest of society who isn't really well known, and they're kind of like down here, not to say we're down here, but this is where we are as far as fan base and a lot of people don't really know who we are. And then as I guess regular civilian, and then you have a celebrity who's up here as on a podium, and they automatically, if they end up going on this mission, people right away think, okay, they went on the mission because they're well known. I never have a chance to go. But that's not true. So I understand why people will say, no, celebrities shouldn't go, because we're trying to show that space is for everyone, not just the select few that are famous. But I do think it's good to have a hybrid of both, and having like regular people, having, MZ going, and then have someone like Taylor Swift going, because at the end of the day, it shows that they're all human. So I think having a mix of everyone is even more important, because it shows that that's what ties us all together at the end of the day. Like, we're all going up together, we're all traveling together, God forbid something happened, but if something happened, it happens everybody together. No one's favored, no one's, and you're all on the same level. And that's what the whole purpose is, I think, with humanity traveling throughout the solar system and then eventually the cosmos. It's to show that, we all are on this journey together, and what we put as our standards in society for one another is what it is on Earth, but it's not applicable to the grander scheme of things. So I think that doing something like this is what's going to really hone in and ground us all over again. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, change course here a little bit and ask you kind of a life question. Let's assume that we're able to go out and we're able to colonize Mars. We're able to go out and start making changes to the asteroid belt and to the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. If you had the option somehow to extend your lifespan for the hundreds of years that it's going to take for us just to get started on Mars, would you want to be around for that future that we're working to build right now?
I would definitely want to be around for it, but I think if I had an option where I can live my life I'm living now and die at an average human life. So I have a goal of living to 125. But I think that dying at an average human age, I'd want to experience first, because I'd want to have the rest of my family, I don't want to see my grandkids die before me. So if I'm living this long, I'm going to watch my entire family tree, live a whole life, and then I'll still be alive. So that's a little bit weird, because it can get lonely. If we're going super fantasy about this as far as the future. But if I had an option where I could die normally, but then somehow be frozen at the time and then be reborn later, I would want to do that. So I'm kind of changing your question.
Have your consciousness backed up or something like that?
Yeah, because I would definitely want to see it.
Would you want to just have another human experience, or would you want to have an enhanced experience, like in a robot body or something?
Enhanced, because I'd want to still I would still want to know who I am and all of this that I lived in this life as Athena, and then just kind of continue it. I wouldn't want to live a whole new life, because I'd want to just have a continuation, because I want the wisdom that I've gained throughout these years of my life to be transferred into what my future would be. So 100%, if that's possible, where I could download my consciousness into some hard drive or something and then have that uploaded in the future, 100%. I would definitely want to do that. It would be trippy to think about, but I think that in all honesty, I think that that's the path that we're going down. And as far as from the spiritual side that a lot of people have felt, they think that that's what happens throughout life anyway, is that we're recycling. I don't know too much on this anyway, but that's kind of what we're doing, but we're controlling it now if we eventually do that. We're controlling somebody dying and being reborn again, if you're downloading the consciousness. But it's not really the definition of being born if you're being put into a robot, but it's kind of the same gist, which is weird to think about, but yeah.
I don't know. I definitely would like to be around for a lot of those things and
Yeah.
work now in the lifespan that I have, you know, to be able to build the stepping stones to get towards that point. But then I want to be around to see all that crazy stuff. I want to see our Star Trek future, but that's just me. It's kind of a weird question there, but you're known for talking about, some of the more kind of big questions like that.
Yeah.
So do you have any final messages that you'd like to leave off to folks before we head out for today?
I guess every time that you talk to somebody that you don't know, I really try and encourage starting some type of conversation about what you love. And, you know, more so if it's about space, that'd be great. But like really about what you love, because I think that that's something that's really lacking in society is this, for some reason, very like shallow surface level when you meet someone. And I think that when it comes to talking about space, you dive in so deep with that other person, whoever it is, like a friend or, I don't know, an acquaintance or someone at your job. And I think that that builds some type of bond that unifies the human race. So that's kind of like what I would want to say as far as that, just talk to someone, about that.
That's awesome. Well, you definitely got to go and check out Athena's channel. She's been doing some great videos lately. She's been doing interviews with people, talking about all sorts of subjects.
Interviewing you.
Interviewing you. Yeah, some of your other interviews are good too. But yeah, definitely check out Athena's channel, AstroAthens, youtube.com/AstroAthens. And you can probably click a link somewhere right around here to go check that out. And you can check us both out on the TMRO show, which is at youtube.com/TMRO. Wearing the shirt for it, got to represent. We have a live show every Saturday at 1800 UTC. So you can always join in and chat with us live. And so be sure to check out Athena's channel. Check us both out on TMRO. And we will catch you next time. Until the next time I see you, though, don't forget to keep on moving onwards and upwards. And ad Astra to the stars.